Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of Practical Pet Chat. We know you've got a lot going on, so thank you so much for joining us. Lorin, one of the things that you and I really bond over is education and other just fun events to bring pet parents into the stores. But I want to talk about the pros, the cons, the why to do it, how to do it successfully. You've done a lot of those. So share your mindset as you considered whether to hold an event and what type of event.
Yeah, so we're always trying to add other areas of revenue, right? And it also helps to solidify who we are, our philosophy, and our relationship with our clients. So, I did things like had third parties come in. I know we had one event that we did after the store closed that was a pre-sign up. And we had vets that owned a particular CBD company come in and talk about CBD and CBD when used with conventional medications and its practices and purposes, when to use it, how much, their viewpoint on it, just in general, not just their own product. We did things like had clinics with veterinarians, holistic veterinarians, back in the day early on. I had, a couple of vets come in, do vaccine clinics. I stopped doing that. But it's a great value added opportunity for those stores that believe in that. I had trainers come in, microchipping type clinics. One of the things I went so far to do that, so the space next to me opened up, the people moved out, and I immediately snatched it up and I turned it, you've been in there. I turned
Yeah,
it into a seminar, event center type thing. It's just another small, store space, probably about the half of my store, half size of my store. And same landlord, so it made me a really good deal. And I set it up specifically for those kinds of events, with tables and chairs and for an audience. And we did nutrition seminars in there. I know we had a food company send a vet out that they worked with to talk about not their food particularly, but nutrition in general, which was great because it wasn't specifically focused on their brand. It was nutrition just in a general type scenario. People love that. We always sold out. We charged a nominal fee, and we always sold out. And really, the fee was to ensure that people kept the commitment. And we always allowed that fee to be used towards any purchases made the day of the event. So it was really beneficial from that standpoint. And we gave goodie bags out, that were filled with whatever the genre was. Along with those seminars and information. And they were always super successful and always resulted in increased foot traffic, increased sales. And you do two or three of those, and people start asking when the next one is and what's it going to cover. So I really like that. It does take time. One of the things that I had thought about doing, I love this idea. But we already had a market like this for humans on the weekend in my area. And I really wanted to do one in our parking lot on a morning when we did, we opened up late on Sundays. And I thought about doing a market that was just geared towards ingredients for people to be able to buy
love that.
ingredients for their own food, how they would make their own food at home. We, had sous vide suppliers. We had deals on crock pots and cookware and things like that with relationships. And I thought it would be great, really great to have those vendors there with special discounts for those kinds of things, especially the sous vide because we were really pro sous vide. I know you are too. But think
Yep.
about you could have freeze dry companies there, dehydrator companies there. You could have fresh eggs, you could have fresh meats, fresh parts. There's so many butchers that have all those kinds of things, bones. So, there was so many things. I could picture the whole thing in my head and setting it up. And the daunting thing for me was that I was already open 7 days a week, and I just didn't know that I could add one more thing to everything that we were doing. To really do it well, build a following, and then continue with the follow through. It almost needed to be parsed out to a third party partner that took over that
Gotcha.
aspect of it.
Yeah.
But it's a heck of an opportunity. So I think that you're only limited by your imagination and by what you're willing to do and put into it. But all of those build up what sets you apart from every other business, every other store that is selling pet supplies. What's different about you? And a lot of times those things are what's different.
Yeah, I think the other thing too about it is it builds a great community, and people look forward to that. So if you're doing it on a regular basis, it's something that they'll build into their not just their calendars, but their social calendar. And then
Hmm.
they start to evangelize for you. And so it just grows exponentially. And I know you and we've even gone to events together that other folks were putting on.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yep.
because of that community nature of it. So from when I was doing a lot of the photographer stuff, of course, at different holidays, folks would be reaching out to me at different stores, daycares, et cetera, going, "Hey, can we bring you in? Can we do this?" And we really built a great relationship with a number of locations where just out of a natural response when someone say, "Hey, do you know somebody in?" I'd be like, "Oh yeah, they've had me there. Here you go." I can now vouch for them because not only do I know where it is, I've been in their store. I now know how they operate with their people, and I felt comfortable putting my kind of stamp of approval, if you will, as a third party, in favor of them, and vice versa. They would promote the different events that we were doing. As a vendor and a manufacturer, I was one of those folks that would go out to the stores and talk about different topics. And I can tell you, um, not only was that incredibly successful, but there was a real genuine sense of thank you,
Hmm.
not just to the speaker, but to the host store. And it just really built up that trust. So I think events done in the right way, in the right manner, can really benefit your location. And I think, and there's so many different things that you can do. Um, I know when we had the studio, we would do, and this was one of the like we got away from it because we got so busy, but we would hold a birthday event, kind of
Hmm.
going back to other things that it was like, "Hey, come on down, we'll take a birthday photo of your pet." And it was crazy how good of a not only, relationship builder that was, but just we looked forward to it ourselves. And everybody was in a great mood. Everybody was really happy.
Hmm.
Um, there are just sometimes those uplifting things that you can do as a business. And so I really found different ways to do those types of things within, and then work with the partners. So as especially as an independent, what a great way. You're not beholden to the corporate, here's our
Hmm.
group think of what you should or shouldn't be doing. To me, this is a real opportunity for everybody out there to really stand out and show their individualism, their passions, their beliefs, and what they're about by the types of events that they put on. So I love it, and I'm
Yeah,
sure.
early on we had birthday parties in the store, and we had a photographer that came out for Christmas and Easter. Halloween was a little bit too packed in the store, so we weren't able to do that. But people, the minute they were done having their pictures taken, you guys doing it next year? I mean,
Exactly.
they already want to know, do you have a date yet? Well, no, we don't have a date yet, but we'll be sure and let you know. And it is so rewarding to hold those events and then see customers talk to each other and guide them through the store to whatever it is that they bought that they really had success with. And maybe they can't speak to it, but then they both are standing waiting for you to be done so that you can, hey, I was just telling her, you know that stuff that you got me? Or people calling saying, I really love that event where you talked about that food. Do you know when your next one is? I want my neighbors to come. I was telling them about it. It
Love it.
just they promote for you. They do all the PR for you. And it's really you can advertise all you want, but that kind of one-on-one, personalized, intimate type of relationship between a business and their customers, it's almost becoming less and less and less. And it's what separates people from, number one, shopping at your store versus others, but keeps them off of buying online, because you're not going to get that online.
Right. And I think the other part of that is uh it's just that overall that happiness too. And they get to
Mhm.
see your store, experience your store, just see the genuineness of how you are. If I'm in the room, I've always said this, I can solve, world crisis by just releasing a, group of puppies into a room and seeing who lights up and who doesn't. And I know the group that I want to be with. No, I just think that the thing with it is being in person gives you that opportunity and that different energy exchange that only happens in person, no matter how much we may enjoy talking over, the phone, Zoom, et cetera, all these different things. It's not the same as when we're in the same room together. That's one thing that AI and all this technology will never change until we can teletransport. Um, because there is just something different about being there in person and that energy exchange that happens between different beings. And so this is that real differentiator that I love that we're talking about for those who are like, oh my gosh, everything is social media, everything is, doesn't have to be. Here's one great example for you. And there are so many different things that you can do that, and keep in mind, by the way, for those who are looking for unique social media stuff, how unique is this? How cool are some of these things that you can do in person and show off what you're doing in a more genuine manner? It's not staged. It's not, there's no pretense other than, hey, we're here having a good time. We're learning, we're enjoying, we're whatever it is. It's pure. And I think we've lost a lot of that with the
Mhm.
staging of things and
Mhm.
how all that happens in this, you know, always on, social media world of like, oh, it's got to look, a certain way, or it's got to be presented in this. And there's always got to, I don't know. So I love this. I think, I want to, how often do you think folks can realistically be doing it and not lose focus though on what they're doing? You had a separate space and I
I
love
did.
that idea, but that's not, I think, the option for a lot of folks. Um, and I know that was always a challenge for me, right? Folks wanted me to
Mhm.
come in and I'm like, this is how much space I'm going to need to run this event. And that's practically, three-quarters of your store. That's just not going to work. I appreciate you. Let's figure out something else. Let's have you, the owner, come down to our studio. And that's another thing too, by the way, is what a great way to, kind of take a field trip with your folks and not have the, responsibility of setting that all up. Hey, we're going to be over there. You bring a couple items over to our studio. That's what we did when they didn't have enough space. But how would you suggest folks who maybe don't have enough space to pull off some of these events, foster some of these ideas that we're talking about?
Well, a lot of people will do, their parking lot type events. Everywhere that I was always too hot. So, when we had the director pet food out, and it happened to be cold, one of the few times it was cold. And we did a showing of pet food in our parking lot, and with a screen and everything. And we supplied blankets to everybody and chairs and that sort of thing. Um and it was really good. And then we moved inside to do the question and answer type thing. But it depends on what you're doing to answer that question more specifically. If you're going to do your own seminars, once a quarter is probably pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I like
Um, if you're going to have external influences come in, that's going to vary depending on the nature of it. So, like the CBD vets, could come once or twice a year because they were, going to other stores. The holiday things are obviously specific. And then it really depends. I know when the food company had a vet that was available to come and offered it to us, it was a very specific window of time. So you have to be a little flexible to move things around. So if you're doing your own events once a quarter, I maybe wouldn't announce my next event until I was a couple weeks out because people's plans change anyway. And also I wanted to be available without having to change my planned event for anything that would pop up. And the more events we did, the more events we were offered. So that was pretty cool. I did a couple of events off premises. I didn't like those. It took away what we offered, which was personalization. It became a meeting room, a specific area. We did one or two at a hotel. We did one or two where we were invited and did it in a development housing area. It's a different customer. It's a different environment. They're not enveloped by everything that you put into your business. So that's why I wanted to control the feel of the environment. So if it wasn't in my store, I had it at the space next door. So you really have to kind of think that through and maybe have smaller events where you limit it. And if you can't get more than 10 people in your store comfortably, then I mean that's what happened to us. You've seen my my store. It was crowded. There was a lot of product in there. And to be able to do this as we continued and it grew, I had to find another space. That's why I took the space next door.
yeah. No,
And
I
yeah,
love that. I
so
think overall, there's so many ways to do it, but yeah, what works best for you, you know your customers, you know how to do it. That's how you definitely want to make it happen. Um, I will say too that the seasonality of events, because a lot of folks would reach out and say, "Well, hey, I want to have you, um, for the holidays." And I was like, "Do you know how far it advance?" And I had my own studio to run as well, right? So if I was going someplace, that was tougher during the holiday season. So I
sure.
like to kind of get ahead of it and say like, hey, we can do that, but let's do that, you know, well in advance rather than trying to have me out there to do, Christmas photos with Santa and our, Santa themed, stuff. It was like that's you can't wait until November, December for that, because we're booked every weekend, etc. So that was just not going to happen. So I would also say that, throw that out. Like know when you're doing this planning, know when your opportunities are for you to not only plug in those holes, but what else is going on. Um,
Yeah, the only thing we could do in Q4 was the pictures with Santa, the
yeah,
holiday pictures. That was it. And, we brought
yeah,
people in for that. It still was a lot to manage, but
yeah,
there were so many other things that we would do throughout the other 3 quarters that just were not possible in Q4.
right. And I think that happens as you're going through. I think the other thing too is um, not waiting till the last minute though. I mean that's the problem. It's like, oh, we
Mhm.
really want to have you in 2 or 3 weeks, and I'd be like, yeah, that's not happening.
Right.
Yeah, I gotta come down. I gotta measure out. I gotta make sure I'm safe. the animals are going to be safe, the pet parents are safe, and the amount of times when someone said, "Oh no, I've done it before," and I'd say, you had a chair and you had, one of your staff dressed as Santa. We roll in with props, the whole scene,
Right.
all the rest. That we're going to elevate what you're doing, which is why you want us there. Same thing. Sometimes I've seen this phenomenon recently. I was at an event, and I don't go to too many because I just don't have the time. But I went to one, and they put a camera in front of everybody so that they could record the talk. And I was like, now we're all staring through this camera to
Right.
see this person. You know, I get that you want to save it for your customers who couldn't do that. But so it's just planning is kind of my big thing. And the worst thing yet was they had the camera, they didn't have a mic on the speaker, and I was like,
Oh no.
that's it. The most important thing is the audio on the speaker. Um, but hey, listen, they were trying, they were doing something, and it got me there because the speaker they were having, and I still enjoyed it. But I just thought, wow, unfortunate misstep here. Um, because what it meant for me was I probably wouldn't go back the next time to their store. I would just hope that they got a good enough recording for the person that was speaking. And I just watch it on their site that way. But there are a lot of opportunities to do that as well. I think that's just another way. It's kind of the evolution of the newsletter that folks used to email out, and before that, mail out. I go back to
Mhm.
the actual postal days, folks. Um, so do something. I mean, that's that part of it that we talk about there are certain times where you're so busy you can't do anything, and then there are those dead times. What do you do during those dead times? Um, and I just think it's just such a great way to do it. And it's interesting because I was talking to someone, and I'm sharing that birthday party idea, and they're like, I love that, Rob, but oh my God, we'd get overwhelmed. And I'm like, so just do it once a year where you celebrate every dog's birthday, because every dog has a birthday, every cat
Mhm.
has a birthday, every parrot has a birthday. You cover them all, and it's just our big birthday event, and come in, and we're going to celebrate all of them. We've got a little, tiny, gift bag for each one of them. And you don't have to go hog wild. I think that's the other thing that people, um, are too self-critical about. They're like, well, if I do something like that, I've got to have something mega to hit. That's not why the people are coming. The people are coming
Well,
just to
it
have fun,
turn
and
that from a birthday to a gotcha day. So you get everybody.
oh yeah, no, exactly. I
That would be awesome. Oh my
I
gosh.
love that.
I envision puppy pools outside, the little kiddie pools, and snow cones with bone broth flavoring, and all kinds of things you could do, popsicles. And we did things where we took a chicken foot and froze it in a mixture of goat milk and pumpkin, and the handle was the chicken foot. And then we did the same thing for cats where we took the larger ice cubes, and we put a minnow in the center to freeze it, and they got a little cup that was in. I mean, there's so many things you can do that are so much
I was going to
fun.
say, Bella's, she perked up immediately as you were describing that. We got to get to Lauren's pretty quickly here.
Oh,
Um,
so fun. And
y-
we had so much fun doing it.
yeah,
And if you're a store that's got a freezer, it's an easy thing to do
yeah.
because you've already got a freezer. And you can get vendors to donate, some of the supplies for that. There's so many opportunities to set yourself apart. You just have to put the effort in and have a good time. And if something goes wrong, don't let it be a deterrent. It's an opportunity to go, okay, well, next time we'll put this in place.
That's exactly it. You don't have to make it the end all be all event and try and top it every time, or make your first one the greatest one it's ever going to be. Test it out. The other thing too is there's all these meetups. Um, Used to be more prevalent, not as much as it
Mhm.
is now. But I remember I did a lot with the meetup groups where we had a
Mhm.
specific breed of meat of whether it be dogs, cats, etc. Um, and really enjoyed those. So maybe dip your toe in with something like that. There are definitely plenty of clubs around where all of us are.
create it yourself. Frenchy
Create it
Friday,
yourself.
Terrier
Come on.
Tuesday, any of those.
Yeah.
How fun. And then you've got people in your store and you have little hors d'oeuvres and doggy hors d'oeuvres, and you could do a feline Friday once a month, something like that. There's so many things. And I will tell you, every time we did something, no matter the response, no matter how it went, whether we had to fix anything or not, we had a blast. And the
Yeah.
animals pick up on that.
It's that energy. It's that energy. I love this. Hey, hopefully all of you are excited, got your brains turning here. This is why we do these. Give you some ideas, actionable things that you can do to improve what's going on in your pet business. But we also know you've got a lot of great ideas. So make sure you share some of those with us. Practicalpetchat@gmail.com. All the different social media places we are, our website as well. Let us hear from you. We want to know what things you're doing and how you make it a memorable event for not just yourself, but also those four-legged and feathered friends of ours. So thank you for joining us here on Practical Pet Business. We look forward to seeing you again.
Thanks, guys.
The content of this podcast is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as, nor should it be construed as, professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment for your pets. Always seek the advice of a qualified veterinarian with any questions you may have regarding your pet's health or medical condition. Never disregard professional veterinary advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. The hosts and the guests of this podcast are not liable for any actions taken based on the information shared during these episodes. Any reliance on the information provided is solely at your own risk. Copyright 2025 Practical Pet Chat, all rights reserved. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or reproduction of any content from this podcast, including but not limited to audio, scripts, and show notes, is prohibited without prior written consent. The opinions and views expressed by the host and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Practical Pet Chat.